Good evening, brothers. Today we are going to step into a new book, the book of Ezra. The title of our study is The Exile Ends and God's People Return from Ezra chapters 1 and 2. Let's begin with prayer. Lord, you are sovereign over our history and every detail. We thank you for your unfailing promises that are always fulfilled. Please open our hearts and minds to your word today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Imagine being hopelessly lost in a foreign country for your entire life. You don't speak the language, and you have no way to get back to your homeland. Then suddenly a guide appears. He has official papers, a travel pass, and resources, all provided by a new king. He says, "It's time, we are all going home." This feeling, this sudden, unbelievable hope after a lifetime of waiting is what God's people felt as we enter the book of Ezra. For 70 long years, they had been in exile in Babylon. An entire generation was born and grew old in captivity. But now, all of that was about to change. God was bringing His people home. Today's study has two parts. Part 1, God's initiation, and Part 2, God's activation. The key message is God starts and completes every detail of His sovereign plan. Part 1, God's initiation. Section 1, Moving the King's Heart. In the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, in order to fulfill the word of the Lord spoken by Jeremiah, the Lord moved the heart of Cyrus, king of Persia, to make a proclamation throughout his realm. The Lord, the God of heaven, has given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he has appointed me to build a temple for him. Any of his people among you may go up to Jerusalem in Judah and build the temple of the Lord, and may their God be with them. Who was this King Cyrus? He was the founder of the powerful Persian Empire. In 539 BC, he conquered Babylon, the empire that had exiled Judah. This victory meant God's people now lived under Persian rule, which set the stage for their return. What is amazing is that God named Cyrus in the book of Isaiah over 150 years before he was even born. God said of Cyrus, "He is my shepherd and will accomplish all that I please." He will say of Jerusalem, "Let it be rebuilt," and of the temple, "Let its foundation be laid." God promised to use this specific king to fulfill his plan. Cyrus would let the exiles return and rebuild the temple that Babylon had destroyed 70 years earlier. This fulfilled the prophecy God had spoken through Jeremiah. When Ezra opens his book with Cyrus, it's like a neon sign. It shows us that history is unfolding exactly as God promised. We get a stunning behind-the-scenes look at how God rules the world. God doesn't just know the future, He makes the future. The verse doesn't say God predicted Cyrus would make a proclamation. It says the Lord moved the heart of Cyrus to make it. God is so sovereign, so in control, that he can use anyone to accomplish his purpose. He even used Cyrus, a pagan king who did not know him. From Cyrus's point of view, he was just making a smart political decision. He often let captured people return to their homes and worship their own gods. This promoted peace and loyalty in his new empire. But behind this human decision, God was working out his divine promised plan. As Proverbs 21:1 says, "In the Lord's hand, the king's heart is a stream of water that he channels towards all who please him." God often works through everyday normal human actions, not just dramatic miracles. This is true for world rulers, and it is true for us. Section 2. Moving the people's hearts. Then the family heads of Judah and Benjamin, and the priests and Levites, everyone whose heart God had moved, prepared to go up and build the house of the Lord in Jerusalem. All their neighbors assisted them with articles of silver and gold, with goods and livestock, and with valuable gifts, in addition to all the freewill offerings. Moreover, King Cyrus brought out the articles belonging to the temple of the Lord, which Nebuchadnezzar had carried away from Jerusalem and had placed in the temple of his God. God's work did not stop with the king. Next, he moved the hearts of the people, giving them the desire to make the difficult journey home. God even moved the hearts of their neighbors to give them supplies, and he stirred King Cyrus again to return the special holy articles from the temple that were stolen 70 years earlier. God was carefully starting and directing every single detail to bring his people home. This passage shows how God works. He accomplishes his plans by stirring human hearts. He moved leaders, exiles, and even pagan kings to follow his will. The way God's control and human choice work together is a mystery, but it is clear that God works through people who respond to him in faith. When we follow his leading, we become part of his plan of rescue. Following God's will may require sacrifice, but it always brings blessed results because God always fulfills his purposes. Cyrus, king of Persia, had them brought by Mithredath the treasurer, who counted them out to Shashbeshar, the prince of Judah. In all, there were 5,400 articles of gold and of silver. Shashbeshar brought all these along with the exiles when they came up from Babylon to Jerusalem. Shashbeshar brought all the temple articles. This careful list of items shows us an important truth. God is faithful and generous. He keeps his promises. He supplies everything his people need to do his will. What seems impossible to us is never an obstacle for God. Principle 1. God accomplishes everything He promises. If God cares about golden bowls and silver pans, how much more does He care about you? Every detail of your life, your work, your family, your pain, your prayers, matters to Him. Like the exiles, we can trust that God is quietly arranging the pieces of our lives to fulfill His good purpose. When life feels uncertain, remember, the same God who moved the heart of Cyrus is still moving hearts and events today. He rules every detail for your good and for His glory. What broken places in your life do you need to trust God to rebuild? How does knowing God controls every detail bring you peace amid uncertainty? Part 2. God's Activation. Section 1. The People's Return. Now, these are the people of the province who came up from the captivity of the exiles, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had taken captive to Babylon. Chapter 2 is a long 70-verse list of names. We might be tempted to skip it because it looks like a dry census. But this list is a powerful declaration. After 70 years in exile, the people must have wondered, has God forgotten us? This list shouts, no. They returned to Jerusalem and Judah, each to their own town, in company with Zerubbabel, Joshua, Nehemiah, Seraiah, Lealiah, Mordecai, Bilshan, Mizpah, Bigvai, Nahum, and Barna. The list begins with their leaders. We see two key men, Zerubbabel, a descendant of King David, who would lead the rebuilding of the temple, and Joshua, the high priest. Their roles show that God was restoring both the royal line and the priesthood in Jerusalem. You might notice that Ezra 2 lists 11 leaders, but Nehemiah 7 lists 12. Most scholars believe this is due to a small error in copying the text, not a contradiction. They think the original list likely had 12 leaders. The list of returnees is carefully structured. Verses 3 to 20 list the regular people from the tribes of Judah and Benjamin, grouped by their families. Verses 21 to 35 list these same groups again, but this time by their original hometowns. Finally, verses 36 to 67 list the people who would serve in the temple: priests, Levites, singers, gatekeepers, and temple servants. This part also mentions some people who could not prove their family history. God led Ezra to list these names and numbers to show that the return to Jerusalem wasn't just a vague crowd. It was made of real individuals. Each one was known by God, moved by Him, and given a role in rebuilding His people and His worship. God pays attention to every detail of our lives. He knows who we are, where we live, and the people around us. He places us exactly where we are needed, and He equips us for the work He has prepared. Nothing about our lives is random or overlooked. All of it matters in His plan. It's also interesting that this list is structured like the list in the book of Joshua, when the 12 tribes first settled in the promised land. This shows it is a new beginning. God is showing His people that His promises continue. His plan of salvation is still on track. Also, Zerubbabel from the royal line of David and Joshua from the priestly line of Aaron together point forward to God's ultimate plan. They foreshadow the Savior Jesus, who would be both our King and our priest. The list includes many priests and temple servants. Verses 61 to 63 show how seriously they protected the priesthood. Those who could not prove their family history were not allowed to serve as priests at that time. Rebuilding the temple was the first priority for this entire first group of returnees. This shows how important it is for God's people to worship Him in the right way. Section 2. The people's worship. When they arrived at the house of the Lord in Jerusalem, some of the heads of the families gave free will offerings towards the rebuilding of the house of God on its site. The priests, the Levites, and the rest of the Israelites settled in their towns. These ordinary people were pioneers. Think about what they did. They left Babylon, a rich and comfortable city, to take a dangerous 1,600-kilometer journey. They arrived at a place of rubble and ruins. They did this because they were trusting the specific promises of God. And when they arrived, their first act was to give sacrificially to rebuild God's house. God gives us many ways to worship Him. We can offer our time, our money, our energy, and even our conversations as an act of worship. He helps us set our priorities on things that have eternal value. Giving sacrificially helps us experience God's faithfulness. It shows we believe that people, the gospel, and eternal resource are more valuable than the temporary treasures of this world. Principle 2. God gives His people the power to do His will. Just as God stirred the hearts of His people to return, He also works in us today. As Philippians 2:13 says, He works in us to will and to act in order to fulfill His good purpose. God gives us both the desire and the power to obey Him. God recorded their names one by one in Ezra 2 to show that He sees. He hasn't forgotten a single one. In the same way, if you have placed your trust in Jesus Christ, the Bible says your specific individual name is written in the Lamb's Book of Life. The Lord sees you. He knows every detail of your faith, and He is weaving your life into His eternal plan. Where might God be stirring your heart to act in faith today? How can you rely on His power instead of your own strength to carry out His will. God stirred Cyrus to decree, so exiled Jews could be set free. The key message is God starts and completes every detail of His sovereign plan. Let's pray. Lord, you are the glorious initiator and activator of all things. We thank you for your faithfulness and for including us in your sovereign plan. Help us to trust your promises and walk by faith in the power that you provide. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Peace of God be with you all. สวัสดีครับ